Welcome to Twin Express Omnitracs Workflow. This is a series of videos about using Omnitracs Workflow at Twin Express. This video is an introduction and a review of pre-plan and the information available. Omnitracs Workflow is a structured process for presenting load information along with giving you the details needed to execute each stop and an opportunity to input the required information for each stop. Standard process for logging into your IVG device is used, and given our experience with testing this device, it just takes a while to load applications. Once the applications load, you're presented with your standard device home screen. Again, notice the message bar across the top, and you have your standard messaging icon, and then in the lower right is your workflow icon. When going into messaging, nothing has changed. This is the standard way that you'll communicate freeform with your dispatcher. Notice the workflow button on the right. We'll use that to get into workflow. This is the main workflow screen. When you hit that workflow button, notice the tabs across the top: trip plan, pre-plan, send message, and history. The lower left is the return button, and the banner in the middle and the upper middle shows us that we are in the workflow application. Pre-plans can come in at any time, and when you get a pre-plan, it gives you an audible indication that a new plan has been received. Once that plan has been received, you can look at it at any time. So let's take a look at what a pre-plan looks like on the screen. Notice that we are in the workflow application. We're on the pre-plan tab, and the two buttons in the lower right are for looking at the details of the pre-plan. The red outline button is only used when we want to accept this order and make it our current active trip. It's really important to understand that accept button is only to be used when we're ready to make this trip our current active trip. We don't need to accept the pre-plan. We just need to look at the information and details associated with the pre-plan from our dispatcher. If you'll notice on the pre-plan tab, the details button in the lower right, this gets you into the order, into the trip that you're going to be executing, and it will show you the details of that trip. Once we press on that details button at the pre-plan level, it brings us into the pre-plan, and the next screen shows us each individual stop associated with that trip. From that stop level, we can then go into details for each stop and get the information we need to properly evaluate what we're being asked to do. So again, pre-plan at a higher level, details for that brings us to the stop level details, and then when we go into details for each stop, we highlight the stop and press the details button. Once we're in the details for the stop, we see the information for the stop, address, if you slide down, phone numbers, that type of information that are associated with the stop. And there's also the green outlined info button, and that gets us into the details for the pickup numbers, PO numbers, and other reference numbers. They will be under this info tab. So we've got to go down a few levels to get the information at the stop level that we need. This is the order stop information. Notice we are in the info section for that stop. You'll see that in the center of the screen. There can be quite a bit of information here, so you'll want to use the slider. And outlined in green are load numbers, the PO number, and a confirmation number. Once you've completed looking at that and you've slid the slider down to make sure you've gotten everything, you can hit done and it'll bring you back to the previous details screen. Each stop can have different information. When you're reviewing your pre-plan, please look at each stop in detail and slide the sliders down so you see everything. You can get to each stop without going all the way back to the first detail screen by using the arrow tab in the upper left center or left part of the screen, and you can move from stop to stop without having to go all the way back. This is another example of a different stop in the info screen, showing there's a lot more information than there was on the previous stop. So again, please take time to look at the information for each stop so you get all of the details that you need. So a recap of this video, we use the WorkFlow application after login for our trip details. Pre-plans show stops on the trip. Pre-plan details show stops on the trip. Each stop has the address, phone number, and appointment info under the details tab. We highlight each stop on the pre-plan to get those details, and then each stop has reference numbers under the info tab. So we've got to go down multiple layers to get all the information we need. Best practice is to look for reference numbers in all stops to make sure you have what is needed. Avoid hitting the accept button when reviewing your pre-plan. Remember, the accept button is only for making the pre-plan your current active trip. Pre-plans will change as the details of the trip change, and they'll be pushed to your device by dispatch. Changes will be pushed. So while working with your dispatcher on your current trip, you should always be asking about and looking for your next pre-plan. If you don't have a pre-plan, when you're unloaded and it's after hours, please find the nearest truck stop or safe location and call your dispatcher at 8 a.m. Central Time the next morning. Thank you for your time and attention in viewing this presentation. Please contact your dispatcher if you have any questions. The next video will be about loading with Omnitracs WorkFlow. Thank you.